Game Pass may be making changes to day and date with the introduction of Game Pass Core. I want to look at the new pricing structure, the price hikes, the differences between standard console Game Pass Ultimate, as well as Game Pass on PC, and just the differences in price, the differences in features and what you're getting. It looks like we may be heading toward a more standard or introductory version of Game Pass that will simply not feature day and date. And I just want to ask some questions and even sort of theorize about what might be happening long term with Game Pass. If you missed the announcement, they announced a new version of Core, or Game Pass Core, which is basically them getting rid of games with gold, that package that you could sort of have where Xbox Live Gold and you'd get like games every month, a couple of games. It was a sort of an older thing that not a lot of people were using anymore. At least I wasn't. I don't know very many people that were on anymore. Game Pass was such a good value. Most people just sort of switched to Game Pass. So they're converting it into Game Pass Core. You can see it right next to me. And it's $1 less than console Game Pass, and it features its own catalog. So contrary to the way that Game Pass works, sort of being a very robust and big catalog of games that gets games every single month, it's well worth, I think, the $10.99 a month. It's a great value. This is $1 less. It's $9.99, and it does feature the online console multiplayer, right? You need that in order to access, basically matchmaking and access to having all those ways of connecting with people. There are people that don't agree with that. They don't think it's something that these companies are charging for. PlayStation does the exact same thing, so that's, fair is fair. They're both doing it. And there are people that don't agree with that, but that is something you're going to need. And then there's a catalog of over 25 high-quality games on console, and then you get member deals and discounts. So more than likely, whenever you see those discounts, it says, you can buy it, and it says discount with Game Pass or whatever. That's likely going to apply here because this is Game Pass, and yet it's kind of not Game Pass because it is just a 25-game catalog, and you do not get the actual Game Pass experience that people have grown accustomed to. Now, the first question I have is, since it's only $1 less, it's literally $9.99 instead of $10.99, why didn't they just roll everybody over into console Game Pass? Now, it's possible that they couldn't do that because it would require a price bump. They've already bumped the price of Game Pass, or they're planning, to bump the price of Game Pass. Ultimate's going up. For some reason, PC is dodging that bullet. And when these changes take effect on September the 1st, it's possible that they just sort of had to change the name, keep the pricing structure exactly the same. Like, I can't suddenly change your YouTube member price, right? If you're on my $5 a month membership, I can't go and push a button and be like, surprise, it's more expensive. Now, they can alert you of price changes ahead of time, but given that these people were paying for something completely different, that's maybe why they just chose to do it this way. But I still am confused why you wouldn't just give people the option to say, hey, for $1 more, we'll just convert you to console, or you'll no longer be on games with gold. I think you would probably get a percentage of people that would just opt out, but when they would see the number of things they're getting on Game Pass for $1 more, I would think you would keep it. Now, I have my own theory as to why they're making them separate. I think they're making them separate because long term, I believe this thing right here, new games on day one, it would not surprise me if over time Core becomes the standard console Game Pass offering, and this thing sort of fades away. They'll raise the price of this at some point and just sort of convert everybody to Core. And they'll say, listen, if you want to maintain day and date, you're going to have to go to Ultimate. Now, again, this is just a theory because I have continued to think that day and date is problematic. I've continued to think that long-term, it's not feasible. We've learned from the sort of Microsoft Activision Blizzard trial and the findings and discovery that it's cannibalistic to sales. It actually hurts sales. And many people hear that and say, that's not surprising, that's not a big deal. Well, it might be a big deal to Microsoft and their shareholders, given that Phil Spencer originally said said that Game Pass increased sales, and he cited Forza. Now, this was in the early days, in the early era of Game Pass, so at the time, there could have been a correlation between Forza launching, being on Game Pass, and actually seeing an increase in sales because of the exposure and the word of mouth. That's essentially what Phil Spencer said. He's like, contrary to what you might think, word of mouth actually really affects sales. But as time went on, the sort of meta, the culture around Game Pass sort of settled in, and people decided, you know what? I'm not going to buy games anymore. There's no reason to. I'm just going to get Game Pass. I'll play the games when they come out, and then I'll cancel. And because of that, I've continued to think that over time, they were going to have to rethink day and date, or at least foster a culture of purchase. We'll look at the pricing in just a second again, because there are some other questions I have about PC. But for a while, I've said, hey, you should make early access endemic to Game Pass. I know some games are doing this now, or like where you pre-order the game, or you do the Ultimate Edition, you can get in like 72 hours. But in my mind, if you're on Game Pass and you purchase the game with your Game Pass discount, they could give you like a week of early access. This would not just foster an ecosystem of purchase from people that right now are very seemingly averse to purchasing games, but it also potentially, pull people in that really like to buy games. There are people who are sort of antagonistic or against Game Pass, or like, no, I like to buy my games. There are people in the Xbox ecosystem that just sort of refuse to do Game Pass. They don't like the idea of the library changing or suddenly losing their games or losing a game, so they're like, nope, I like to buy my games. Well, if they thought, hey, all the games I buy every year, I'll take the discount, and then I'll be able to get in early access, and that might be able to increase revenue, increase profits, and get more people purchasing games. And I think that divide, if you look at this, would be an easier sell that like, hey, bump up to Ultimate, you'll get day and date on select titles, but you'll also be able to buy games and get early access. Look at all the other things you get, right? You get EA Play thrown in, and you get the discounts and everything else. Now, here's the real question that I do have about something that you might notice now that I highlighted EA Play. EA Play is included on PC Game Pass, and PC Game Pass has avoided the price increase. It's still just $9.99. So for less money on PC than console, for less money, you get more. And this sort of continues that theme where it feels like the console is second fiddle or second class. I don't quite understand this. Again, if you look at the fact that they've allocated more raw materials to cloud than distribution of the Series X, it's a very strange time to be an Xbox console owner. There's continued to be narrative circulating about the Series S and the problems that it is causing, and developers wanting to skip it. That's sort of a growing narrative. I tried to draw attention to this years ago, called it a self-made Trojan horse. I got called a hater, but that is gaining traction. And then when you look at this, it's kind of hard not to ask those questions. Why is console getting less for more money? Why did console get the price hike and PC didn't get the price hike? And then why did Core get introduced and not just sort of roll everybody into console? What purpose is Game Pass Core going to serve long term? And I again think the day and date is what's under threat here. Now, the question you might have, though, is then, well, what about PC? What about PC Game Pass? Well, you can get Ultimate Game Pass on PC. So again, I think the simplification here would be these two in the middle would just sort of disappear. And then $10 a month, you get Game Pass Core. It's 25 games, and it's how you play online. And then ever so tantalizing is the upgrade. I could see Ultimate over the years getting up to over $20. $20 a month. You get all these games day and date. You get EA Play baked in, right? You get these discounts, and this is what you're going to need to get on both PC and console if you want to maintain day and date. The main reason I think this is not just because I think day and date's problematic long term. I also think just it's more simplistic. This is confusing when you look at it. The pricing structures don't even make sense because this and PC are the same price, so it's $9.99, then it's $10.99, and then this one's suddenly lower, and then this one's $16.99. Like, it doesn't even flow as a pricing chart. Like, I remember when I worked at AT&T, and you'd have, like, the brochures with the pricing structure of your plans. You'd have that best value, right? They'd highlight the one plan, they'd put like a big box around it, and that was the plan they really wanted people to go on. Well, this doesn't have that flow. This doesn't have that marketing feel, and it even says choose the plan that's right for you. Like, this doesn't look very good from a marketing standpoint. It looks confusing. It looks value destructive. It's like you're giving PC more for less money. So everybody who's right here, right now at $10.99, it has to make you feel a certain kind of way that, like, why am I not getting as much as PC? Like, what's the point of that? And what's this doing here? Like, this is almost threatening in my mind. Like, I have Ultimate because my kiddos use it a lot. I use it a lot. Sometimes that EA Play comes in handy, so I have Ultimate. But in my mind, if you're sitting on console, this core over here is almost threatening. It's like, wait, hold on. What's that doing there? It's only 25 games. It's only $1 less than what I'm paying. Like, is my price going to go up again? Am I going to get shuffled down to that? Is my plan going to go away? Like, it's honestly hard to make sense of Game Pass core and only being $1 less, than console, and being so limited unless there's a plan long term in play here. That core is going to become the core offering. Even its name, it doesn't sound like an introductory version. It doesn't sound like light, like Game Pass Lite, or, you know, Game Pass Alpha or Intro or something like that. But core sounds like the core offering, the main offering. So this could be a get an easy way. If we look at it another way, I'm willing to admit this. This could also be a really easy way to get people on Game Pass, like the actual Game Pass that everybody has right now. Because if everybody's sitting at $9.99 when September the 1st rolls around and they get rid of, you know, Xbox Live Gold, and you get rolled over into Core, it's like, well, hey, for $1 more, you get all this. It could be that. I'm willing to say that could be the play here. They are trying to fill that Game Pass funnel. This is going to be a really great way for them to suddenly say, hey, our Game Pass subscriber numbers just boosted way up, because you get all these people that are going to automatically roll over fourth quarter this year into the Game Pass funnel out of the Games with Gold, the Xbox Live Gold. And again, I'm just going to continue to highlight this because I do think this is a very concerning thing for those of us that have the console. PC getting the better treatment. If you listened to some of the testimonials during the FTC hearing where they were trying to get their preliminary injunction, a lot of the commentary from Phil Spencer and a lot of the emails seem to indicate that they really see PC and cloud as sort of the next landscape, and mobile, obviously. And there was also something that came out, I believe it was from the Brazilian discovery process, where Phil Spencer essentially said they had sort of hit plateau of Game Pass saturation on console, but they saw good opportunities to grow on PC. That could be another reason that they're doing this with the price. It's like, hey, we've already got everybody we're going to get on console, so just start raising the price and maybe even get rid of this and just roll everybody down to core. Core could come up in price in a year to match and have pricing parity, and then all of a sudden this plan disappears. And the reason they're being more competitive with the PC, the reason that they're offering more on PC, they're throwing in the EA Play, it's only $9.99, right? That's their new sort of frontier. They're trying to get more people on PC to convert. And as a console owner, I think that's a concern, because it's like, well, then if I'm not prioritized, if you're not really worried about winning me over, then what exactly am I going to be getting long term, right? There's concerns about what the Series S is going to do to games long term, both third-party companies that might not want to be on the Xbox ecosystem because of the S. What about the S dragging down performance because it's now the min-spec machine that is getting greater priority? There's a new, black Series S with the bigger hard drive. So I wanted to do a video on this and just kind of theorize where I think things are going, and I do think long term, core is going to become the core. It's going to be the offering. You're going to lose day and date unless you're on Ultimate. Ultimate's pricing slowly going to go up. I think every year we're going to see these price bumps. I'm not singling out Microsoft. Everybody's doing the price bumps. I'm getting emails every day from my TV packages, whether you got Netflix or Prime or Disney. They're all going up. And we're even seeing losses for a lot of the subscription sites, a lot of the places that tried to do stuff. I saw something recently about Peacock losing money. This subscription services aren't doing so well, so they're going to have to find new ways to make that money. And that's why I think fostering that ecosystem of purchase, I also think they could fold in ID at Xbox and have like game trials of those indie games. And then if you want it, you buy it. But for now, when I look at this is confusing. And the pricing is confusing, the lack of feature parity is confusing, and I don't know if day and date's long for this world unless you're on the highest tier. So let me know what you think in the comments below. This will probably roll over into a member stream. I think this one's going up on Friday, though, so I'm probably going over and hanging out in a VIP-only debrief. It's sort of an unfiltered debrief at the end of the week, so you might want to upgrade if you want to be a part of that. As always, if you enjoy the live shows, if you enjoy these uploads, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video.